welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guests today are David and Andrea Reiser, Mr. and Mrs. Reiser. And you guys wrote a book, Letters from Home. Tell me something. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show, aside from your own pedigree, is the fact that this book, all the royalties are going to charity. Right.
Yes, yes it
okay.
is.
So, who did you intend Letters from Home to be? Give us a little bit of background.
The book was originally supposed to be an upgrade to a financial book that we wrote 10 years ago. And when our publisher asked us to do that, we decided not to. We didn't think it would really do any good in today's world. So we decided to do a book on how people were successful and what made people successful in life. And so we looked at who were fulfilled people, who were fulfilled investors, and who were dissatisfied people.
Exactly. Okay, so your book is called Letters from Home, I'm going to not be able to do this now. Letters from Home, a wake-up call for success and wealth. I'll hold it next to the two authors here. So you got this epiphany to do something different, Andrea, right?
We did.
And when you say letters from home, who are the letters meant for?
We wrote the letters to our sons. We have 4 sons.
God bless you. How old are the boys?
One who's almost 16, twins who are 14, and a 12-year-old.
Wow.
And we thought...
I just hope you guys get good daughters-in-law.
We do too.
Right.
We do too. And we thought if we can have a conversation with the boys and let other people in on the conversation to sort of read about the role models we talked to in our own lives and pull the values that we thought were important for the next generation, why not do it that way? It would be a less preachy way to do it.
It's less a preachy way, and it's a sweet way to do it. And also, as I say, for us here on Getting Your Money's Worth, the fact that that these royalties are for charity is also an extra visit. So tell me something. Parenting seems to me to be very different these days. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong.
Right. I have to say, I spoke to my daughter this morning, actually, and I said, you know, you didn't confirm whether you're coming in Sunday. She had a birthday. She's right, and she says, Mom, I text you. Well, I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay. She says, didn't you get it? I wanted to say, I didn't even look. I was working busy. But in my day, you didn't accept an invitation by texting.
That's for sure. The technology has opened up a whole new way of communication for younger generations, and there's no more human-to-human contact, or very little, I should say. And that was part of what gave us the impetus.
Was that part of your impetus?
It was.
Right, yeah. Are you focused on, I don't know, 12 to 15 different values, characteristics that I want to talk about some of them that kind of used to just be part and parcel of growing up, like, you know, saying thank you and may I do this, or doing what you're told to do, or working hard in some respects. Things that now seem to have to be taught and re-emphasized. I want to start with a couple of them that you had in your book. In fact, I think you started out talking about education. How do you go about talking about education to your own kids?
Education is the way you advance. It's the most important thing for your family to move on. I tell my boys that part of my responsibility and their responsibility when they have children is to help make the next generation more intelligent, more educated than the last. That's how our family keeps growing. And kids today, especially, one of our pet projects is for inner cities kids.
Right.
Matter of fact, we're going out to Detroit to the Cornerstone schools in the next 2 weeks and donating a couple of 100 books to them, and showing them that education is their way out of poverty. Education is the way they advance as human beings. Education is the way they become good citizens.
You know, a couple of weeks ago in the New York Times, Thomas Friedman had a column, and he said one of the big things that's changed in America today is 35 years ago, a high school dropout could still have a middle-class lifestyle. They could work in the auto industry, or go to a steel mill, or you know, work in the mailroom of a large company and still have some advancement. Well, that was a dropout. In today's world, those jobs don't exist. for dropouts, nor do they even exist for high school graduates. It's a very changing economic climate.
We don't have manufacturing in this country anymore.
No.
And people thinking that it's
and
going
we don't
to
have
come
steel
back.
mills, and we
Exactly.
don't have the kind of construction we used to have.
Right. We have robots that do the jobs that people used to do.
Right. So that it's the level of competency needed has really grown.
Exactly. So what do we do with all of these people in the inner cities and poverty and people that aren't being properly educated? And I'm sure you've seen the movie Waiting for Superman and the issues we have in this country. What happens to our country if we don't talk about education?
Well, and one of the things that perhaps you guys can do in your own way is to emphasize to parents
Yes.
that education is not just something that's left to the schools. It really begins at the kitchen table.
Yeah, education begins at home. Parents have to set the responsibilities and tell the children what they're responsible for.
And you talk about this in a very interesting letter form, and you mention outstanding people who have benefited. We all know these stories of, you know, growth stories, right? But the truth of it is, the emphasis does happen in the home.
Right, hard work and education, two things that we've forgotten about.
Hard work, yeah. You talk about accountability. When do you start teaching accountability in your home?
As young as possible, as when the kids are very little, giving them responsibility and having them learn to live up to it. You know, if you set expectations for your kids, they'll learn to live up to those expectations and learn that they need to take responsibility for their decisions, for their actions, for their behavior, and know that there are consequences if they don't.
Right. You know, just to break into the conversation a little bit, you guys are intelligent, informed parents. You wrote a book. You're raising 4 of your own citizens. How did you learn to be so smart as a parent?
We're not so smart sometimes.
Is that I mean, you go to school to learn how to be a parent?
You've got to pull from all the resources in your life. You've got to look at people who are great role models to you. I was very lucky to grow up in a wonderful, loving household with 2 fantastic parents, and I draw a lot from that and my grandparents. I know that David has done the same.
But there are folks who don't grow up in those kind of households. And what are they to do?
You need to seek out people who can help you with the kinds of issues that are happening. Read. Talk to role models in the community or in your life or somewhere.
There's something called now, I'm quite sure if I asked my kids, and they probably talk about it on the couches of whatever therapist they're seeing, I would have been called a proponent of tough love. I never thought of it as tough love. I just thought of it as the right way to be a parent.
Exactly.
I'm not so sure I love the expression tough love. I think love is tough when it has to be, and very forgiving and very generous when it has to be, all in the right proportions.
That's it. What has happened is that parents want to be their kids' best friends, and they sort of lose their capacity to be a parent. And so you have to pull back and realize that there are times when everyone is having a great time and you kind of lose a sense of what's going on, but there are times when you have to lay down the law. Like you said, a little bit of tough love, but know that the love is there and that you're setting expectations. You're not raising children, you're raising adults. You're raising human beings who are going to grow up and go out into the world.
And as a matter of fact, there's sort of this underlying theme that kids respond very well to parameters and to expectations and to borders. They see behind it is a care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You talk about things that sort of surprised me a little bit. I think there's some place I read, people ought not to acknowledge folks that don't say nicely thank you or may I please or you're welcome. I think that sometimes I forget to say those things myself, and plenty of times I know my kids don't say them. Is that an old-fashioned virtue?
It's respect.
David?
It's respect. It's also helping the people realize that there's something bigger and more important than just you, just yourself. So if you respect the person you're with or you respect the person that's helping you do something, say thank you, say please. It puts your existence not as a sole entity in itself, but you have to look as you're part of a community, a part of a neighborhood, a part of a country. And if we just keep this me attitude, the country's in big trouble. So saying please and thank you helps you appreciate everything else.
I recently had a little accident, and I've been using taxi cabs for about the past 10 weeks. And I continue to be amazed. Every time I get into a cab, I say good morning or good afternoon. Nice. I'm sorry I took myself so much time getting in, but I had either a crutch or a cane, now a cane. I have yet to have not one taxi driver that was not kind, sympathetic, take your time, don't worry. And I realize the difference is my attitude when I get in. I say good morning and thank you for waiting for me, or good afternoon. It makes a big difference.
It does, and if you can spread a little bit of sunshine, you never know where the next person might take it. Even if you're standing in line at a cashier in the supermarket and you comment to the person, thank you for smiling at me while you rang up my order, they appreciate that, and it's something that will stay with them.
And I think that probably is something that we sort of have gotten away from. Maybe part of it's technology too. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the 3 charities that you're going. They are Sloan Kettering.
Sloan Kettering.
Is there a personal interest in that, in Sloan Kettering?
Actually, we're supporting breast and ovarian hereditary cancer research at Memorial Sloan Kettering. I lost my mom to breast cancer at age 63.
Right.
And my sister and I both have the breast cancer gene, so we're very interested in supporting that. And FORCE is another organization.
What is FORCE?
It's Facing Our Risk of Cancer Empowered, and they do a lot lot of work with Sloan Kettering as well.
And then you have something you're doing.
The third one is Share Our Strength, which is...
What is Share Our Strength?
It's an organization that's trying to end child hunger in America.
Well, okay. Letters from home, and what makes you now go out to these schools in Detroit? Are you going to Detroit?
Well, I'm going to Detroit. I actually went to the SUNY Maritime Academy and donated 100 books to the football team. Right. You might have seen on TV on those kids. But what we're trying to do is go to schools where children want to learn and show them that if they use these 15 virtues, they will be successful in life.
Well, I'm going to give you somebody. We had someone on our show, Nicholas Higgins, who runs the Correctional Library Services for New York Public Library. And he started a program with incarcerated dads reading to their children and recording them. And for the first time, people who never used a public library that were inmates at Rikers Island are standing in line requesting books. I'm going to give you his name and ask you guys to just contact each other. Thank you for being on the show. Letters from Home. I read it, and I'm going to tell you, I'm online for the next 2 books. I'm going to send them to my kids. Thanks for watching. I'm Judith West, and David and
Andrea
Reiser. I have a blind spot. Authors and for Letters from Home, and parents. They come with OJ. This book comes with OJT, on-job training, and parents of 4 teenage boys. Thanks for watching.